Everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the WeSportin Podcast. I'm Nico, and I'm here with my co-host from Just Talking About Sports, Drew. Drew, how you doing today, man?
Hey, I'm doing good. We back. We about to cover some football. You know what I'm saying?
Very true, very true. So me and Drew for the wild card weekend, we wanted to dress up a little bit. We got the Washington football team, and Drew's got Devontae Adams, arguably the best receiver in the league.
Arguably, he is the best receiver in the game. Stop the cap. Come on now.
I mean, I guess if you want to put it like that. All right,
I won't put it like that. Wide receiver one, no question.
Okay, all right. That's a debate for another day. A debate for another day.
That's true.
So right now we have our first playoff game, guys. We're going to cover the AFC side. If you haven't watched the previous video on the NFC, please go watch it. So right now we have our AFC matchup. Our first matchup today is going to be Baltimore versus Tennessee. Drew, do you want to take it away with that?
Yeah, sure. I'll put it plain and simple. I got Baltimore in this matchup. You know, it's the clash of Titans, Lamar Jackson versus King Henry, Big Truz. You already know it's a rematch of earlier this season and last year in the postseason. But I see it like Rocky versus Rocky 2. Rocky, Apollo Creed, the Titans, they won. Rocky 2, Rocky's coming back and knocking out Apollo Creed. I'll take the Baltimore Ravens here.
Okay, I mean, I could see how you could take the Baltimore Ravens here, but you also need to look at the fact that, you know, you can't overlook Derrick Henry. You cannot overlook Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is probably one of the biggest offensive threats in Baltimore's matchup. You saw when Derrick Henry and them last played, I mean, he kind of just ran all over him, basically. Yeah, ran all over him. And, you know, Ryan Tannehill is probably a top 10 quarterback who is very good.
I'll say he's a top 10. I will most definitely throw him in the top 10 quarterback.
Yeah, and you have weapons like Corey Davis, A.J. Brown, Jonnu Smith, Anthony Frisker, and their O-line hasn't been bad this year either. The one thing, though, in the Titans, and that's the one thing I'm going to watch out for, and I believe, Drew, that's what you're going to watch out this when do they play? This Sunday, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, this Sunday. Is that defense. That defense this year
can't stop anybody.
Yeah, that defense has been walked all over through. They've allowed 27 points per game in the last, all season long. Their run defenses.
That's the worst. That is the worst mark among playoff teams.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And like it's them and Cleveland that are at like the bottom half of the league, and then it's like everybody else is near the top. Like, it's like that's the problem. Baltimore's offense is explosive, it's electric, and it's different. It's a running offense, the number one rushing team in the NFL. Mm-hmm. And since Tennessee can't stop anybody, like, think about it, like 38-41 they won against Houston last week, right? Mm-hmm. You can beat bad teams in a shootout. Mm-hmm. But then again, you won't be able to beat good teams with an actual defense when it comes January. Mm-hmm. Like I'm just going to flip it to Baltimore's defense. I don't think people realize how good the Ravens defense actually is. They allow the second least points per game in the NFL, second only to the LA Rams. And people have realized how good the Rams defense are. The Ravens aren't far behind them. Like, and when it comes to shootouts, yeah, that Titans offense is electric. I believe over 30 points a game scored, or around that mark, which is incredible, which is near the top of the league. But I will most definitely take my chances on Baltimore stopping Tennessee more so than Tennessee stopping Baltimore.
And that's one thing I'm going to have to disagree with you on, actually, because I do think that the Tennessee Titans can stop Baltimore. We've seen it in games. And yeah, the first game that they had, the second game they had, which was this year, went into overtime. And in the first playoff game, I mean, that they had against each other, I mean, Derrick Henry obviously ran them over. I mean, that's one thing we can't agree. And I still think, but here's the thing though, if they stop the run and force Lamar to throw, it's going to be an ugly game for Baltimore. And that's what I'm going to go with.
Wait, why? Why?
Here's the thing.
Are you going to tell me that Lamar can't throw?
No, because I don't want to be the one to say that, but I also don't want to be the one to say, oh, well, Lamar is, so good. Lamar is this, Lamar is that. Here's the thing about Lamar Jackson is that when he plays defenses, such as when they have Dory Jackson, when they have Desmond King, Kevin Byard, Kenny Vaccaro. You're going up against that's a pretty good secondary right there, and I don't think anyone can disregard that. That's a good secondary.
It's a good secondary on paper,
Mm-hmm.
but they have that secondary has been one of the weak points in the past couple weeks. Like against Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams ran wild. I understand the jersey, but come on now, they did. Against Houston last week, Deshaun Watson and Brandon Cooks were running laps around that secondary.
Mm-hmm.
And don't tell me that Lamar Jackson can't throw the ball. Lamar Jackson can throw the ball. He's just not your average pocket passer like a Josh Allen or a Ben Roethlisberger or a Phillip Rivers. He's a runner. He is a runner, plain and simple. But if you set up the run first and get him in second and short, or just even on first down sometimes, right? You fake a handoff. Right? You throw it out to the tight ends. You throw it out to a Mark Andrews or a Nick Boyle, or you hit Marquise Brown on the outside on a big play. The Ravens can be explosive there when you ask them to. And I feel like the Titans can give up a lot of freebies. And what I mean by freebies are big plays down the field. Mm-hmm. And the Baltimore Ravens, here's a stat about the Ravens. They have the highest point differential of anybody in the NFL, plus 165.
Mm-hmm.
That's impressive. So what that means is that if Lamar Jackson sees Marquise Brown running down the sideline and he's wide open, they will gladly take those 6 points. Mm-hmm. And it's those freebies that the Titans give up that Baltimore's defense just doesn't. Then there's no way that the Titans are going to be able to keep pace with Baltimore. And besides, you bring up stopping Derrick Henry, which is a valid point. Derrick Henry is the best running back in the NFL by far, and it's not even close. They know what they're doing, and yet they still can't stop him. Over 2,000 yards on the season. Mm-hmm. There may not be a formula to stop Derrick Henry, mm-hmm. but there's a formula to slow Derrick Henry. Mm-hmm. And if you stack the box, 7-8 guys in there, right, ready to stop Derrick Henry at all times, and let Baltimore's elite corners, such as Marcus Peters and Marlon Humphrey, lock down A.J. Brown and Corey Davis on the outside, and you put pressure on Ryan Tannehill, get them in third and long, that Tennessee offense will fold. We've seen it before. And if, say, Baltimore gets a couple stops, with the way Tennessee's playing right now, and with the way Baltimore's playing right now, Baltimore's going to win.
I will say this, though. A lot of teams know the way Lamar plays. A lot of teams know the way. That's why Lamar had a down year this year, because the year before, no one really knew how to stop Lamar, because Lamar was Lamar. But you need to also look at it, Drew, and I can't believe this is going to be my argument, is that, they've beaten them. The Titans have proven to be able to beat the Baltimore Ravens. They have beat them in the regular season, and they beat them in the playoffs. And even in that playoff game, they shouldn't – the Titans weren't even favored as much. And you need to look at it too, is that in that offense with Ryan Tannehill and all of them and Derrick Henry, is the fact that they are so dangerous and they are so hot when they're scoring points. If they score a touchdown within, let's say they get the ball first and they score in the next 5 minutes, in the first 5 minutes, it's lights out. They've averaged over 34 points a game in the last.
Okay, you say that, but who's to say that, say Tennessee goes down, boom, 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 scores? Who's to say that Lamar Jackson in Baltimore can't do that also and respond right back? Now it's 7-7.
I'm not calling out that Lamar can't do it. I'm calling out that Tennessee knows Lamar the best, and I know they can cover Lamar the best. And they know how to slow him down. It is not hard. They have the pieces on that defense to slow Lamar down, because as you saw, they have Rashaan Evans, they have Jayon Smith, they have Jeffrey Simmons. They got guys on edge rushers who can just immediately go after him. And that's the problem, is I do believe that if there's anyone in the NFL as of right now that knows how to stop Lamar Jackson, it's the Tennessee Titans.
All right. So I'm guessing you're taking the Titans here?
I'm going to take the Tennessee Titans in this game.
All right. Hey, well, we'll agree to disagree here, and that's more of the usual for us. We don't normally see eye to eye. But let's move on to the next game, shall we?
Yes, we are. So the next game, guys, I'll open up with it. Next game, we have ourselves the Cleveland Browns versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. First, let's open up. Congratulations to the Browns. I mean, the Browns are no longer an NFL joke. The Jets have taken that role over, but the Cleveland Browns are no longer a joke. They made the playoffs.
First time since 2002.
They made the playoffs, yeah, in a division that 3 out of the
Were you born? Were you born yet the last time?
Yeah, I was already born when they made the playoffs. When they were in the playoffs,
we were very little.
Yeah, we were very. How can I say it? We didn't know much back then.
we were youngins.
Yeah, I mean, let's look at this. The Cleveland Browns, 11-5 this year, first time being in the playoffs since 2002. Congrats to them. Let's break it down though. The offense. I'm gonna start off with the offense. I'm gonna go defensive. Drew, if you want to talk about the Steelers, you can. I'm gonna just speak on the Browns because I'm more of like the Let's Go Browns movement, and I'd love to see.
Of course, well, we're all in the Let's Go Browns movement. I mean, I am too. I want to see the Browns succeed. I want to see the Browns be a good franchise again. But do you really think Cleveland can win this game?
I think they can, and I'll tell you why.
You think they can? Tell me why.
Here's the thing about the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Cleveland Browns this year have been very, very, I don't want to say up and down, but they have been very good. Okay? Their offense, let me be more specific, their run game and their pass-catching running back, Mr. Kareem Hunt, they have been dynamically explosive. I do believe that the Cleveland Browns have more of a chance than I believe anyone that they know how the Pittsburgh Steelers play. They play them twice a year, and did they win? They won those 2 matchups against Pittsburgh this year, didn't they? I do believe.
No. They beat them. Pittsburgh. I'm pretty sure won the first one.
Yeah, they beat them in Week 17. The Browns did. I think they split the season.
Pittsburgh was resting their starters, and it was in Cleveland.
Was it in Cleveland? Yeah, it was. Yep. You're right. I just looked. Yeah, you're right.
I know it was in Cleveland.
So here's the thing. That game is going to be a very interesting football game. Very interesting. Like I said, the Cleveland Browns. Let me just put it like this: Baker Mayfield this season had over 3,500 yards, I believe 26 touchdowns, and about maybe like 8 picks. He's not turnover ratio anymore. Like, I can now sit here and I could sit and tell you face to face that, yeah, I can trust Baker Mayfield to go in there and win me a game. And I can trust him with the pieces that he has. The only issue I do see, though, in the Cleveland Browns, and Drew, I don't know if you can maybe agree, disagree maybe, is the throwing portion. And I'm subtracting Kareem Hunt. I'm subtracting Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. I know that their run game is going to be explosive against Pittsburgh. It is more what I'm worried about is Jarvis Landry, Rashad Higgins, and Donovan
Peoples-Jones.
Yeah, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Those are going to be the guys I'm worried about because they are going in a secondary that is elite. Like, probably that's the best secondary in the league, and that's just me telling the truth. I think that, with the secondary of Joe Hayden, you got Terrell Edmonds, Mike Hilton, and Minka. Those guys this season have been so working well together that I do believe that when it comes to playoff time, they're going to get their heads in the game and they're going to start to look at the Cleveland Browns like, oh, these are the guys that haven't made the playoffs in a while. They don't know what playoff experience is. We're Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has been in the playoffs almost every single year in the last decade, except for a few years missing out here and there.
Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season as a head coach.
Never has, and even last year he didn't. I think, though, as opening as it is, the one issue I'm gonna see is in the coach calling, because I do believe that their coach has COVID-19.
Kevin Stefanski. Yeah, no, that's the big one. Yeah, Kevin Stefanski, who has been the engineer behind this Cleveland juggernaut. They've been very explosive. Cleveland's offense has been good all year. And a big part of that is due to Kevin Stefanski. He's a very strong candidate for Coach of the Year. And I'll be shocked if he doesn't get it. But Kevin Stefanski has been officially ruled out with COVID. So now play calling duties, head coaching. losing your head coach like a couple days before a playoff game, that's huge.
Bigger than starting quarterback.
That's big. That's about as big as losing your starting quarterback. See, now, and like that's the factor for me. Like, I don't know if you're taking the Browns. Which one are you taking? Like, who are you taking in this game?
I don't want to piss off Steelers fans, but I'm going to be quite honest. The Pittsburgh Steelers, in my eyes, have always been overrated.
So you'll take the Browns. I'm gonna make Steelers fans happy here. You know what? Before Kevin Stefanski was ruled out with COVID, I said that Pittsburgh was gonna win. Now that Kevin Stefanski is ruled out with COVID, Pittsburgh is going to win. All right, I'm taking Pittsburgh here and now, and I'm confident about that. And would you like me to explain why?
Yeah, explain more of I want you to explain more of the offensive style, how they're gonna win. Because I know we all know about their defense, but let's talk about the offense for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
All right. Well, Pittsburgh's offense is very one-dimensional. We all understand this. They can't run the ball. They don't try to run the ball. However, in the pass game, if you get Ben Roethlisberger going, who now has fresh legs, because they sat in Week 17 against Cleveland, which was a 2-point game, by the way. Cleveland against Pittsburgh's backups in Cleveland was a 2-point game. Now you're going back to Pittsburgh with all Pittsburgh starters healthy. Like that's just another thing, but I digress. Ben Roethlisberger has fresh legs. He has tons of weapons to throw to. Juju Smith-Schuster, Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, James Washington, Eric Ebron. Like, he has targets all over the field. And Ben Roethlisberger has more playoff experience than any other quarterback in this field, except for Phillip Rivers and Tom Brady, or even more so than Phillip Rivers, because Ben Roethlisberger is a multiple-time Super Bowl champion. Like, we cannot discount that this. And Cleveland's defense, they've had some problems. They've had their problems. Like I said before, they're in the bottom half of the league in terms of points given up. I think they're around 26 points allowed per game. An offense like Pittsburgh's that, like, once they get going, throwing the ball efficiently, they'll be able to score. And here's the thing. Cleveland's offense, on the flip side, is very good if used correctly. That's the asterisk, because my big thing is the Jets game, all right? Cleveland versus New York. We understand the setup. They had 2 offensive linemen missing. All their wide receivers were out. So what's the solution? Oh, your team is based on running the ball. You have a 2-headed dragon in the backfield, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, 2 top 10 running backs, arguably. Kareem Hunt, you can make a case for Kareem Hunt. He's still electric. He's still that.
10 or 10 though.
He's still that dude. He's in the lower half. But I digress, right? Oh, you have this 2-headed dragon. What are you going to do against the Jets where you have all your? Let's throw the ball 53 times. What? Why? Why are you throwing the ball 50 plus times? Like, your offensive identity is running the football. Like, I don't understand. Like, get back to that. Like, they need to get back to that against Pittsburgh. Set up the run with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Use play action. Throw the ball on 3rd and short. And they'll be okay. But then again, they got that Pittsburgh defense that is one of the best in the game, right? Cameron Hayward, TJ Watt, all those weapons at the front that makes life nightmarish for quarterbacks and running backs. Even if Cleveland does get back to that running game that made their offense so powerful, I think Pittsburgh's defense is up to the challenge. And just the matchup on both sides of the ball, I don't think Cleveland will be able to stop Pittsburgh like Pittsburgh will be able to stop Cleveland. It's the same case with the Baltimore-Tennessee argument. I'm taking Pittsburgh here.
Are you saying it's going to be a shootout?
No, it's not going to be a shootout. I don't think it'll be a shootout at all. I think Pittsburgh will pull away.
Now, what about the Browns defense? Let's touch on them a little bit. Browns
They have holes. Pittsburgh can throw on them.
Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward.
Yeah. I mean, okay, here's the thing about the Cleveland's defense. Cleveland's defense can put pressure on the they have the ability to put pressure on the quarterback. They're going to need to in order to be successful.
It's the same thing we were talking about with Tom Brady and how Tom.
Yeah, in the previous episode,
yeah,
we mentioned that the key for Washington was putting pressure on Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm.
But this is different here. Cleveland doesn't have Washington's defensive line.
Yeah, but all of them make a.
Like I'll take Pittsburgh's offensive line over Tampa's. You know, like you got a diminished defensive line and a better offensive line. Ben Roethlisberger can still move a little bit. He's still got some, tread left in those tires. Not much, but he's not a stationary quarterback like Tom Brady or Phillip Rivers. So, yeah, Cleveland's going to need to put pressure on them, but I don't think it's going to be as effective.
I mean, some could say that. I could say some could debate that there won't be enough pressure. Some could say that as well. But you need to look at it as well is that Ben Roethlisberger never runs out of the pocket unless he needs to. Now I'm saying
same thing with most quarterbacks, like if I have a clean pocket, I'm just like sitting pretty, and I have forever to throw. I'm not gonna.
But Lamar, and then this can go back to Lamar.
But Lamar's like a different type of quarterback. Lamar isn't a pocket passer. That's never been Lamar's MO. Lamar's a quarterback unicorn.
I mean, that's one thing about Lamar, though. He will never stay successful in the NFL if he just keeps running. We saw people like –
I don't know. He's had a pretty successful career so far.
We saw people like this man right here.
But RG3 got injured a bunch of times. We're getting off topic.
Okay, yeah,
we're getting off topic, all right?
Should have stayed on the topic earlier.
Disagree again? You're taking Cleveland. I'm taking Pittsburgh. Alrighty. Next game, Indianapolis and Buffalo. Nico, open this one.
Alrighty, so we have the Indianapolis Colts versus the Buffalo Bills. A lot of people, I believe, this is the highlight of the playoffs for the AFC Wild Card. I would say that it's gonna prove. I'll tell you this. Let me explain why I think it's mostly the highlight. Last year, we saw Josh Allen in the same situation in the playoffs. We saw him in the playoffs. We saw him playing he played Texans, but he's playing the Colts this time. But the problem with that is that Josh Allen is going up against a top 5 defense. He's going up against the Indianapolis Colts. And that's argued. You don't think the Colts are top 5? I think they're top 5.
No. And here's why. Okay. Here's why. All right, I have some Colts fans as friends that are not going to like me saying that, all right? If we're talking in November and you told me the Colts have a top 5 defense, okay, I will be the first one to admit that. Mm-hmm. In November, the problem, it didn't hold up, all right? They're near in the second half, they're near the bottom half of the league in terms of yards given up, points allowed. It didn't hold up. The defense is let up a little bit. I wouldn't call them top 5. Would I say they have a good defense? Yeah, they have a good defense. But do they have a defense that could stand up to Buffalo? No.
Okay. Let me get back on the Bills and Colts real quick. Let me get back. I'm going to talk more about the Colts and I'll speak more about the Bills, and then Drew, you'll fill in here and there to kind of explain if I'm right or wrong. The Colts have, in everyone's mind, in my mind, this is what I thought of the Indianapolis Colts coming into this year. I'm thinking, okay, they got a healthy quarterback. They got Phillip Rivers. Yes, he's old, but he has an arm. He'll stay all season. I'm expecting throwing the ball. I'm expecting pass. This is my mind. I'm subtracting Jonathan Taylor, Naheem Hines, and when Marlon Mack was healthy. That was my mindset before the season started.
Okay, I'll let you continue.
We're here now in the playoffs. And personally, run that ball. You should run that ball.
Yeah, run the ball. That's the Colts' identity, all right? Here's the thing about the Colts offense that you briefly touched on. You expect them to be a throwing offense. Mm-hmm. That's not Indianapolis. Phillip Rivers is great in the first half when scripted. Mm-hmm. But when they're down and he's forced to ad-lib, he just can't do it anymore. they need the run game. They need the run game to be explosive because Phillip Rivers can't do it himself. And Jonathan Taylor has been brilliant down the stretch.
Of course.
Rushing like Marlon Mack, he's out with an ACL. Nyheim Hines, Nyheim Hines is still a threat out of the backfield. You know, Phillip Rivers loves throwing to his running backs. But, like, they need to run the ball in order to be successful.
Yeah, and I mean, let's not overshadow, obviously, their receiving core either. I mean, T.Y. Hilton, Zach Pascal, Michael Pittman. I mean, great. I mean, very mediocre wide receivers. But, I mean, if they want to win, if I'm Phillip Rivers, I'm throwing maybe 25 times that game. I'm maybe going to throw 30 if I feel like it. I'm not throwing to Tre'Davious White, Jordan Poyer. I mean, I'm not going to throw to those guys. I mean, their defense this year has been pretty good. It's been pretty good. And you have Tre'Davious White, who has been outstanding this year, outstanding as usual. And as like I said, if I'm Indianapolis, I'm going to run. I'm going to run. Now, the problem with them running the ball, and I'm going to shift over to the Buffalo Bills a little bit, is their defense. I mean, their front seven is, I mean, it's okay. It's nothing to really say, wow, like, look at the Bills' defense. You know what I mean? They got people like Ed Oliver, Tremaine Edmonds, Drew, please fill me in if I'm missing anybody, you know, more noticeable on that defense.
I won't lie. Bills' defense, I mean, I know the secondary, but I don't know.
I think
the Bills' defense MO has all year has been defensive touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's not understate the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills are the hottest team in the NFL right now.
Oh, no stuff.
Because, like, think about it. Like, you make the claim that Indianapolis has a top 5 defense. I don't agree with that. I think they're outside of the top 5, not by much. But I don't think it matters because look at last week. All right. They hung 56 on a very good Miami defense.
An inexperienced Miami defense.
Exactly. They hung 56. Matt Barkley went in and was throwing touchdowns.
Were you surprised by that?
You know what? I took Buffalo to win because it was in Buffalo, and Buffalo's a very good football team. Mm-hmm. But I didn't expect them to hang 56 on them.
I don't think anybody.
No way. A 50 burger? No. And like now, there's no question here. It's in Buffalo. It's going to be cold. Indianapolis plays in a dome. Mm-hmm. And Josh Allen is looking like one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now. He's getting MVP consideration. Yeah. Like, Stephon Diggs is an electric receiver. This is something that, like, we haven't mentioned yet. Why are we waiting until now to mention? This should have been the first thing that we mentioned. Buffalo's offense is clicking on all cylinders, all right? And I don't even think it's going to be close.
You don't think close?
I'm taking Buffalo.
You're taking Buffalo? Well, there's one thing that Stephen A. said, and I want reason why, because it does actually have something to do with this, but I want your foremost opinion and some of the viewers' opinion as well. Is Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen in the top 5 MVP candidate right now? Because I saw that Stephen A.'s list had Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs in the top 5. Do you agree with that?
Josh Allen, yes. Stephon Diggs, no.
Really? I could make the argument for Stephon Diggs.
I could make the argument for Stephon Diggs too, but he has not had the best season of a wide receiver. This year, he hasn't had the best wide receiver season.
That's where we're going to disagree, but
I can point to a guy that's played 2.5 games less than Stephon Diggs.
You're biased because you're a fan.
That has kept pace with him in every statistical category.
You're going to sit here and tell me.
How am I biased? Yes, I'm going to sit here and say that Devontae Adams deserves to be in the MVP conversation more than Stephon Diggs. I will absolutely say that. I will pound my fist on the table and say that.
I have to disagree with you on that Devontae Adams thing, and I'm going to tell you why I think Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs has had a career year. Have you seen the quarterbacks he's had in Minnesota? He's had Keenum. He's had Kirk. He's had Bradford. He's had Bridgewater. Not saying that they're trash, by the way. Not saying they're garbage. But compared to Josh Allen, hell no. Stephon Diggs' years were wasted. This is the first year, and this will be the first of many years, that we're going to see Stephon Diggs be who Stephon Diggs is, and which is maybe, and I'm not even saying maybe,
Nico,
he's an MVP wide receiver. And
Nico, I'm gonna stop you right there, because what you just said, is it Stephon Diggs making the quarterback, or is it the quarterback making Stephon Diggs? Because you just made the case that Stephon Diggs wasn't as good because he had guys like Bradford, Keenum, Bridgewater throwing to him, Kirk Cousins. Oh, by the way, none of those guys are terrible.
I never said they were.
Yeah, no, none of those guys are bad by any chance. So my question to you is it the quarterback enhancing the wide receiver? Or is it the wide receiver enhancing the quarterback?
I'm going to give you a scenario that you're maybe kind of familiar with, and let me tell you why. Let's look at Mr. Aaron Rodgers and Jordy Nelson, okay?
Yeah, the quarterback made the wide receiver.
Hold on. I understand that. But here's the thing. Stephon Diggs was in Minnesota, okay? Minnesota was always more of a run-first type of, sometimes run-first offense with of the running backs that they've had in recent history. They've had Dalvin Cook. They had AP. They've had many. They had McKinnon. They've had a lot of good running backs. Not good, but they've had great running backs. The reason I'm bringing up Jordy Nelson and Aaron Rodgers is this: when Jordy Nelson left to go play in Oakland, okay, Jordy Nelson was out of his prime, but he was still a wide receiver one. Am I wrong?
In Oakland, I think he may have been like a wide receiver 2 because I think Crabtree was still there at the time. But you know,
they split it. Okay. Stephon Diggs, it's the same scenario. Stephon Diggs played in played in Minnesota. He had Adam Thielen. He's over now on Buffalo, and I can see how you could say like, oh, like Stephon Diggs is not like an MVP, or like he's arguable or whatnot, and then you're saying that Devontae Adams could be MVP.
He's not the wide receiver I would take for MVP. If I had to take any wide receiver in the league for MVP, I'm taking Tay Adams.
Yeah, and I just want to say that if and I'm going to get off topic for 1 second, if Devontae Adams went to another team, he would not be as good. And I'm going to stick to that theory forever. I still think
if we're talking 5 years ago, yeah, he wouldn't be as good, right? But now he goes somewhere else. I think Devontae Adams will still be that dude.
That's the opinion. But listen, I'm going to get back to this. Now, the Buffalo Bills offense, like I said, is amazing. The throwing is amazing. Where I think it lacks, and I think you and I did speak about this, where it lacks is the run game.
We haven't spoken about this yet. And, their running backs are less than ideal. Devin Singletary and Zach Moss have been certainly less than ideal this season. But the way they've been able to set up, the way they've been able to move the ball with the pass game, Allen to Diggs, I don't think it matters that much, the run game. It certainly helps when you have a good run game, but, it's like it's okay.
It's something to go to. And I think that's what a lot of people that watch NFL don't understand is that, yeah, you got guys like McCaffrey, you got guys like Elliott, you got guys like Saquon, Henry, and all them. If you minus them or like they're not as good and you're just like a straight throwing offense, like you always need a running back to hand the ball up. Like
here's the thing. If you don't have a running back, you're the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Or Kansas City.
No, Kansas City's able to run the ball from time to time.
Also,
Kansas City's not completely one-dimensional like Pittsburgh is.
Yeah.
But Pittsburgh is completely one-dimensional. And you see like teams like Washington that were able to key in on them throwing the ball and stop them. They struggled. They really, really struggled. And, and Buffalo can run the ball. They're not completely one-dimensional, but that offense is hot. That offense is hot, hot, hot. And to wrap it up, I'm taking Buffalo against Indy this weekend.
I'm going to take Buffalo as well. And Drew, if you don't mind, I want to ask you a quick question. Last episode, we actually did not get to touch on the number one buys. We actually kind of overshadowed them a bit. They're the number one.
That's true, but aren't we doing that? Aren't we saving that for next week though?
I mean, if you want to discuss it next week, we can. We'll discuss.
You know what? Oh no, I'll go quickly into the.
You'll do Green Bay. I'll do Kansas City.
No, I'll do Kansas City because I don't know if you want me doing Green Bay.
Yeah, no, Drew will be biased. I'll do Green Bay.
Whoa. Okay. That's
Yeah, he's wearing an Adams jersey, and I gave him the opportunity to talk about his Packers, and he's like, nope. You can talk about.
okay, but like
You know I'm
I
gonna.
say Devontae
You
Adams
know
is
what
the
I
best
think
wide
of the
receiver in the league
Packers.
because that's something that I actually legitimately believe.
Yeah.
And that's something that I could like back up, but it's whatever. I'll talk about Kansas City.
Okay.
Kansas City, I had a bold prediction at the start of the playoffs. If Baltimore wins, like I think they will, I think Baltimore will go into Kansas City and upset them. Kansas City has been limping into the playoffs. They've been limping into the playoffs. They have not had much momentum. They have not looked good at all. And it'll be, what, 20 some odd days since Patrick Mahomes last played a football game. You know, he'll be ice cold. Kansas City's good. Kansas City's very, very good.
You know how many people you're making mad right now by saying that, including myself, who thinks Kansas City is a Super Bowl team that I think will go back to the Super Bowl?
I don't think Kansas City's going back to the Super Bowl. I don't even think they're the best team in the AFC right now.
The only team that's going to upset them is the Bills. That's it.
The Bills are – I'll take the Bills over the Chiefs right now. Right now, I mean, seriously, think about it. 17-14 was the final score, Kansas City versus Atlanta. Atlanta's 4-12, and they hold the number 4 pick. Like,
you talk about them. I'm gonna talk about your Packers.
Like, I'm sorry, I don't see the momentum from Kansas City right now.
Mm-hmm.
When they're hot, yeah, they're dangerous. They're Super Bowl favorites, but that's not them right now. They need to refine themselves. They need to get their swagger back because they don't have it right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. As you talk about that, I'm gonna talk about your Green Bay Packers. Now,
oh, goodness. What do you have to say about my Packers? Go ahead.
Here's some things I'll give to you. Is Aaron Rodgers this year's MVP? 100% yes. 100%. Is Devontae Adams a top 5 wide receiver? 100% he is. Now, that team is very, very good. But there's always one thing that team will forever lack, and that's a run defense. They cannot stop a run.
I don't know. I mean, they've been doing better lately.
And here's one thing. Here's the thing. The Packers are super good. But the problem with that now is they're going to be that run game with losing David Bakhtiari. Now, I'm not saying, David Bakhtiari is the founding soul of that Packers offensive line, but when you got a guy like Bakhtiari, it makes your life hell of a lot easier, and I do think Drew could agree with me on that.
For sure.
You got Bakhtiari.
It's so nice having Bakhtiari on the blind side to protect Aaron Rodgers. There's no doubt. But I mean, once you're done, I will briefly tell you why you're wrong about the run defense and Bakhtiari.
Okay. Now, I will give this to them, though, and actually it's crazy. Me and Drew were just talking about this, I think, about, a minute before we started this, that they have one of the youngest and not youngest, but they have one of the best secondaries in the league with Jair, Kevin King, Darnell Savage, and Adrian Amos. That's a pretty core. That's a pretty core. That's good. I mean, they're elite. They're a good core of players that I do believe that can stop whoever they play. Drew, if you don't mind telling me, because you would know, who would they end up potentially playing in the first round for their first round of the playoffs?
It depends on who the lowest seed is in the NFC. So the lowest seed to win, it could potentially be Chicago, Los Angeles, Tampa Bay, or Washington, depending on who wins. It's the lowest seed. But there's not a wide receiver on any one of those teams that Jair Alexander and Kevin King can't stop.
Mm-hmm. But that's the thing about Green Bay, and Drew hates when I go to this, is because he hates it so much. It's the fact that when the Packers get to the NFC Championship game,
it's painful. It's painful. You get to the doorstep every year, and it's either
I just have never.
It's either you choke it with Russell Wilson making a comeback, or Matt Ryan hangs 45 on you with Julio Jones, or Raheem Mostert runs for 200+ yards and 3 touchdowns. But it's.
Or Larry Fitzgerald in the divisional round when Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah, that was incredibly painful too. Thank you for that. Ow, that hurts.
Guys, and I'm only going to this though, and it's not to make Drew mad. It's kind of to open your eyes on the situation a bit. It's the fact that Aaron Rodgers, I do believe Aaron Rodgers is a great quarterback, one of the best of all time, one of the greatest of all time. But the problem with Aaron Rodgers is that the offense can do so much, but the defense can't do anything. So when it comes into those big time moments. Now, say for instance, they go up against, let's say they win the divisional, which they're most likely going to win the divisional, and they go on to the NFC title game. Packers fans, don't be worried about the divisional round. Don't be worried. It's a literal warm-up game for you guys for whoever you play. You're playing the lowest seed. Come on. That's the one thing you should.
I'm not worried. Here's what I'm worried. I'm not worried about the NFC Championship game either. Because here's the thing. We can beat a Seattle. The last time Seattle came to Green Bay in the playoffs, we beat them. We beat a New Orleans in the Superdome. All right? I'm not worried about it. All right? I'm confident in my team's ability to make the Super Bowl. Quite frankly, as a Packers fan, it's Super Bowl ring or bust.
Very true. Now, let me ask you this. Who would you want to play in the NFC Championship if you were the Packers? And I'm just asking just for a question. A good game that you know you can win. Who are you going to take to play?
Who do I want, or who would be the best game?
Who would you want to play?
Who would I want to play in the NFC Championship game? Ideally, the best game. I'll take Seattle.
You take Seattle?
I would love to play Seattle, actually.
Guys,
because
the last time.
Because I'd take Seattle because I'm not confident against Seattle against the Rams, as I stated on the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see why we can't but bring on anybody. If I'm being completely honest with you, I want Tampa in Lambeau.
You're not going to get that, which sucks. You're not going to get that, which is understandable. I get it. You'd rather lose in the divisional to us, but it's keep going.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself there for 5 seconds. Yeah, no, I'll take on anybody. I'm confident in my Packers. This is a Super Bowl year, so yeah, I think that's about it.
Yep. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning into today's episode of the AFC edition of the WeSportin Podcast. If you guys
put a little first round bye coverage.
Yeah, we threw in that for you guys. We felt like you guys deserve it. You guys did amazing in the first video, getting over 100 views, a couple likes. But if you guys want to see Drew back for the divisional, I'm gonna need y'all to hit that like button so Drew can come back for another episode.
I'm down to come back. If the people want me to come back, I'll come back.
We need Drew in the divisional so I can talk crap about it. Talk crap to him how the Packers could lose to whoever they play.
I'll be looking forward to that debate.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for coming today. And, this is the WeSportin Podcast. We'll see you guys next week.